Staatsolie. Welkom. De aanleiding voor deze briefing is het bezoek van de heer Patrick Pouyanné, bestuursvoorzitter en Chief Executive Officer van TotalEnergies aan Suriname. De introducties zijn in het Engels, maar bij de vragenronde kunt u uw vraag ook in het Nederlands stellen, met name als het voor meneer Jagisser is bestemd. Ik zal verder gaan in het Engels. Mr. Patrick Pouyanné, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of TotalEnergies, visited Suriname today to inform President Chandrika Persat Santokhi and Staatsolie about the further steps in Block 58 offshore Suriname. I would like to welcome the TotalEnergies delegation to Suriname alongside with Mr. Pouyanné, and also the Staatsolie board members present in the room, and the French ambassador, Mr. Lacoste. Welcome, and a warm welcome to all our friends from the press. Well, we have a very tight schedule, so in a few moments, Mr. Jagisser and Mr. Pouyanné will share more information with you. Their introductions will be followed by a Q&A. Due to time constraints, we will only be able to address a few questions. Please, one question per media company, and we would like to be direct in your questioning. Welcome, Minister Abiamofo. Also, there is no opportunity for one-on-one interviews. However, Mr. Jagisser will make himself available the coming days for media interviews. I trust we can count on your understanding, and thank you for your cooperation. On the stage we have, if you not know them by now, Mr. Anand Jagisser and Mr. Patrick Pouyanné. May I have your attention for Mr. Jagisser? Oh, he just wants to let Mr. Pouyanné speak first. Please, Mr. Pouyanné.
Okay. Speak first? Yes. Okay, good afternoon. I'm very happy to be in Paramaribo. As we announced to His Excellency the President Santokhi, I came here today because after a long campaign of exploration, of appraisal, during which we drilled since 2019 15 wells, we have identified two large oil discoveries on the eastern part of the block 2058, called Sakapara South and called Krakbadu, which contains globally next to 700 million barrels of oil, and which will allow us to make a very large development project, exploitation projects of 200,000 barrels per day. So today we are launching the development studies. The next step will be we intend to go to detailed engineering studies before year end, and to come back here before the end of 24 to sanction the project. The production of this field should come by 28. So it's, I think, a very important event. It's the first large oil development in offshore Suriname, but Anand will be better positioned than me on my side. This project will be, in fact, it's a project which will, budget is evaluated around $9 billion. So $9 billion, 700 million barrels of oil, it makes more or less $12, $13 per barrel of the costs. It will be developed offshore, fully offshore, 150 kilometers from shore. There will be a big floating production unit, a big boat, in fact, vessel, which will be built and implemented offshore. And then all the wells, 30 wells more or less, will be drilled and connected to this production unit. The oil will be exported from offshore. TotalEnergies has a huge experience in this type of development. In Angola, Nigeria, Brazil, we have a number of what we call FPSOs that we operate. And so we intend, of course, to use all our competencies to do the best for the Suriname. I would add as well that, of course, sustainable development is important. So this project will put on board all the best available technologies in order to minimize all the greenhouse gas emissions. In particular, there will be zero flaring, no flaring on this vessel, and all the gas, associated gas which will be produced will be re-injected as pressure maintenance in the reservoir. I would also add that, of course, today is a big day, I understand, because we announced that project, but we have a long way before we can produce. The next 15 months until end of 24 to work hard to finalize these engineering studies, to make the tenders, to find the contractors, to build the projects. That's the work of the next 15 months. And then we'll have 4 years, to build the project from end 24 to 28. Of course, for us, what will be very important is to develop the local content of the project. In the last 2 years, since we have operator during this exploration appraisal phase, we have managed to repatriate to Suriname the logistic base for all the operation. We created 80 jobs. We gave $90 million of activities to the economy. And of course, with the projects that we will develop, more will come. And there is a strong will, and of course I've been very encouraged, to be clear, by the President of the Republic to put a lot of emphasis on the local content, including putting in place the training sessions and in order to get more people from Suriname involved and getting benefits from this project. So I think it's, of course for us, it's an important news because we have invested a lot in exploring, in appraising during the last 3 years. And today I'm very happy and to be able to announce that we are embarking very seriously and to develop these very large projects for the benefit of Suriname and of course TotalEnergies and our partner Apache. But just for the introduction, I think I will answer to your question.
Please, thank you, Mr. Puyane. Mr. Jagesser.
Yeah, thank you, Master of Ceremony. Thank you, Patrick, for the concrete introduction. As mentioned, summarized, we're talking about 200,000 barrels a day. The first development in Guyana, for instance, was 120. We're not competing, but just to give you a flavor of the size, 700 million barrels of reserves and a project of 9 billion barrels, $9 billion US. So we're very happy to have Patrick and his team here in Suriname. Our experience with TotalEnergies is that they're very committed. When we visited their offices in September 22, we asked them if TotalEnergies has any interest in delaying the project. And he said, how would we be delaying the project if we spent to date $1.3 billion US in the project? So they have no interest, and he committed to 3 appraisal wells that we have drilled. We have flow tested them. And we are sitting here today because they came about all their commitments. And we have discovered now the 700 million barrels of oil. We have the 700 million barrels of oil to have a feasible project. Another commitment was that he would be here if we would have a project. So he is here, which is a testimony to the fact that we have a project that will really happen. So for Suriname, we have turned to a historic page today. I think the liver here, the higher power has blessed Suriname with a lot of minerals. The past 100 years, we had bauxite, we have gold, we had oil, And now this is the biggest material price to date. And of course, we will have to be careful to handle this wealth and not to spend the money before we earn it and not to overspend to guarantee long-term continuity, because there are infamous examples in the world of countries that have a lot of oil and still a poor economy. And we don't have to go too far to the west to find one of the economies, which is Venezuela. As stated in the production sharing contract, Suriname will earn the most of the net income from this project. And according to calculations of Staatsolie, that will be like 7 to 9 times the GDP of Suriname. So 7 tot 9 maal het bruto nationaal product van Suriname over de productieperiode. En dat is enorm veel. Alles wat we verdienen, toegevoegde waarde van Suriname, 9 maal dat zullen we in de periode terugverdienen. So this is hugely important for our country. Of course, then the important question, and we can make it even a little bit more pointy, will we see the day that this will happen? Because I know it's very difficult in Suriname. And every time we have to say, we have to wait. This is then the important moment that we say that we have enough research and we have a feasible project. But of course, like Patrick has explained, a project of $9 billion is not like you going to a shop and buy a ship. It is engineered, it is designed, it's built, it takes time. So why is it important that this is happening right now? We expect that from this announcement, there will be increased economic activities in Suriname. People will come here to conduct business, to have pre-meetings on activities that they would like to establish in Suriname. And one important thing is we have the IMF program. They have a macroeconomic framework in which they don't include the oil revenues of the future. If they include that, it will lighten the framework, so the Surinamese government will be able to do more for the Surinamese people, which is very important. It is for Staatsolie, the board of Staatsolie, the people that worked at Staatsolie. Is very important. This company was set up to show the world that we as a Surinamese company, we can conduct highly complicated business, but to the benefit of the Surinamese people, which is very important. The past 5 wells, total drilled from Suriname. It was from a port in Suriname. And with that drilling of those 5 wells, they spent $90 million in Suriname. So in this development project, they will drill approximately 30 wells. If you calculate that, then it adds up to $500 million that could be spent in Suriname. And of course, Patrick has assured us as well that they will also commit further to local content development, so it will even be better. A lot of people are asking me when to build their hotel. I think this is the time. When to build the restaurants. We have seen this in Guyana happening, that people flock into the country to conduct business. I can tell you Staatsolie is extremely motivated to continue. Our young geologists, geoscientists are working day and night to develop the offshore to bring even more prosperity to Suriname in the future. But we have to handle it well. And I thank you. I'll keep it short so we can have a lot of questions from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jageser. And as per schedule, we only have like 10 minutes for questions. So I know there are a lot of questions.
Kailash,
so
we have more time. So yes.
20 minutes. Thank you very much. So we have 20 minutes. Please keep it short, your question, and to whom it's directed, and from which media company you are. I see that Mr. Sukul is already standing, so go ahead, sir.
I'm Kenneth Sukul, freelance journalist. I welcome Total in Suriname, and I hope that their arrival will bring us economic development. The question is for Mr. Patrick. The UN COP countries want to reduce carbon emission and thus the demand for oil and gas, and that for 43%. That means that the ask for oil and gas will reduce with 43%. What will that mean for your operation? Because you will produce oil after 28. And if the VN COP countries will reduce the oil before 2030, what will you do in 2 years? Thank you.
It's a good question, but the answer is clear for me. We invest in oil projects if they have a low cost, which means that we invest in Suriname because we will be able to produce this oil for less than $20 per barrel. When you look to the world today, we produce 100 million barrels of oil per day. I can tell you that there is a lot of oil which is produced for more than $20 per barrel. So this oil which we'll be able to produce in Suriname will be very competitive. So we can launch this project, we will produce that oil at $20 per barrel, and your question is for the people who are today producing at $50 per barrel. They produce for a more expensive price in Canada, for example, in shale oil in the US. So it's a question of competitiveness. So commitment of TotalEnergies when we invest in a new project is less than $20 per barrel, so that's the best protection. And second is low emission, which means that we'll intend to produce this oil with less than 15 kilograms per barrel of CO2 per barrel. It's very competitive. The average today on the planet is more 25, 30. So we go in the direction of COP28 and the climate change. But you know, at the end, customers are still requiring oil. So we'll have to adapt. But again, the answer to your point is competitiveness of our project here in Suriname. And it will be competitive in Suriname because it's a large project, big project. So, of course, you have a lot of oil to produce, so it makes it more competitive. So this is the answer to your question.
Thank you, Mr. Puyane. I see that Sam Blankendal from ABC, and I also saw the finger of Ivan Cairo. So we'll have Sam, Ivan, and then Lloyd, your finger? No? All right, please go ahead.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Patrick, Mr. Anand. Mr. Patrick, you were only talking about the oil production. Do you have more specific information about the gas development during the years that are coming up?
No, today we are, you know, we find, that's true, on Block 58, some oil and some gas. We have decided to concentrate first on oil. Why? Simply because oil, I will tell you, it's easier to commercialize. You know, tankers will come to this unit offshore and will go in the world. When you have gas, you need to find markets to commercialize the gas. By the way, the size of the gas we have discovered is not as big. So at this stage, and we discussed, of course, with Anand and the authorities, we think the right thing for the country is to concentrate on the oil development. There is some gas, not so much, not so big. Maybe in the future we'll need to cooperate with other countries about gas. But gas, historically, the problem is that you don't transport gas as easy than oil. You don't store it as easy, and it's more expensive. So the question will be to find a market. And so that's the point on gas. So at this stage, I think the good news is oil. So I know that everybody wants to do everything today, but my objective is to be able to deliver a strong sustainable, environmentally responsible and cost competitive project on the oil part, and then let's do that for the next year. Let's go to sanction. We'll open the other chapter for gas and see how we could monetize that.
Thank you. Ivan Cairo, please.
Good afternoon. The question is for both gentlemen. Some people claim that TotalEnergies is looking forward to break open the contract they have now with Suriname and Staatsolie to gain favorable incentives and agreements and arrangements. Is that likely to happen, Mr. Jagisser, Mr. Puyane? Thank you.
No. But if Anand wants, I'm open. Huh? I can do it. Huh?
Yeah, I just don't want to put a stamp on Total, but they're, of course, tough negotiators, but so are we. But one thing we respect very much from Total, they always keep to the contract. The discussion is always to the language of the contract. They have never asked us to change anything in the contract, but just to keep to the contract. And we are asking the same. So I think it's a professional business environment, and we should keep it that way.
Very good. Now, I think we have a value which is respect for each other. Respect means respecting the contract. So when we engage, we sign the contract, and honestly, it's part of it. If I'm here today, it's because we consider that with the contract we have, we can develop this project, oil project, in a commercially profitable way for both parties. If costs are rocketing to the sky, we'll revisit, but it's not the case. So no, it's not my way to work for us. By the way, you know, we like, whatever asked to the authorities is the country. Let's stick to the contract, both of us. That's a commitment. It's a matter of trust, and the contract is a relationship, shapes the relationship to trust. By the way, you know, we trust Suriname. We have since we have Block 58, we have taken 3 other exploration licenses. Block 6, Block 8, and soon I hope Block 64. So that means that Total is comfortable with the framework. It's not an easy contract, and I can tell you that our friends are taking care of interests of Suriname, which is normal. That's normal, but at the end, this type of project, they require fundamentally trust and partnership more than fights and negotiation.
Thank you. One more question. Gloria Botse.
Good afternoon. My name is Gloria. Welcome in Suriname. I want to ask you 2 questions. Thank you so much.
One question, please,
okay,
Gloria.
one.
Yes.
One long and one quick and super quick.
Okay, thank you so much. I was asking, you were talking about a big project that you built in offshore. How do you think of, which is a plan about including the locals? Because we don't have that many technical people in Suriname. How do you plan, of course, with Staatsolie to fill the gap? Thank you.
I think, you know, experience, we have developed projects like this one. I was discussing with Angola, or new managing director, you can stand up, Arthur, in the country, which I bring with me. He's coming as a long experience of deep offshore projects. He's from Angola, so you can ask him a lot of questions. And I can tell you it was the same in many countries where we developed. And we have, in fact, developed also some competencies in training people. Just if people are motivated, you know, with, of course, it takes time, but we will establish some training camp. You know, we managed to do it in logistics. We will do it for more technical part. And fundamentally, you don't expect to see only French expatriates in Paramaribo, you know. Some will come, but it's not like that we work. We work, and of course we have to establish with the help of Staatsolie and to identify the motivated people. If people are motivated, they can learn. And we will bring the, I would say, the masters or the teachers which we have in the company, some people who are able in different countries to explain, to teach, to train, in order to get some operators. But I'm sure that when this big unit offshore will run, most of the staff will come from Suriname, maybe on a rotation basis. But this is a business. In Angola, I have invited your president and Anand to visit our installation. I can tell you, you have few expatriates, and most 95% of the staff on the FPSO is from Angola. So I think it's a new era, and it's a huge opportunity, I think, for the people of Suriname. Of course, we know that it's not a large population, but again, if young people are willing, it will be good. And by the way, as you know, generally in oil and gas company, the salary is not too bad.
Yeah, so maybe to add to that, Mrs. Botsa. So of course, we're doing the NATIN together also with Total. So most of the people that will work on the production platform will come from the NATIN. I must warn, in the production phase, the oil business is not labor intensive, it's capital intensive. So not a lot of people, but especially the spin-off, like the restaurants, hotels, legal, administrative services, they will take off, and we have to take care of that. In the development phase, we're looking, so they have relay piping that they do. We would love to do that from Suriname, because our refinery we built for $1 billion US. We had a lot of welders from Suriname, and they can do excellent work. And the mentality to work in the oil sector is different. So if I call you, Mrs. Botsa, Saturday morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and you tell me, wait till Monday, you cannot work in the oil business. Because the oil business is 24/7. You have to jump out of your bed, go to the machine shop, and conduct the work so the machine can go back to the offshore.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Yes, good afternoon, Ryan LaRose. I have a question about the production. How long will it take? Because you will invest $9 billion US, how long will it take, and what can we get out of this year? Because the rest of the world is talking about going green. What can we expect about the working stage?
The production will start by N28, and 80% of the production will be produced in the next 12 years. So by 2040, most of the oil will be produced from these two fields. We might connect more satellite fields, which are there, but fundamentally. So the answer to you is in deep offshore, you know, and we have sized the vessel in order to maximize the revenues for the country, and at 200,000 barrels per day, there will be a plateau, 5 years, and then there will be space to link over discoveries to this vessel. So again, the answer to your concern is that don't worry, this oil will be produced and will not be banned, and the revenues will come to Suriname.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Fishmani Thomas from Suriname Herald. You're speaking about oil production. When can we expect the first barrel of oil to be produced? And any indication if there's going to be more oil or with the drillings? Do you expect to find more oil?
As I said, first oil N28, that's the target. Maybe Anand asked me mid-28. I said 28. No, but N28. So that's the first production, okay? I will tell you, 1 year I will come back to sanction the project, then I will give you the perfect calendar, because then all the construction contracts will be awarded. But let's say, normally, project like that, it's 48 months, a little less, 44, 48 months. So then, is there more oil? As I just said, at the size of the fields, we don't think, but there are some, we have drilled some positive wells with smaller size. So these other oil discoveries might be in the future connected to this production unit. Okay?
Thank you. Next question.
Vanessa Emanuelson, Apinti Radio and TV. I have a question for the TotalEnergies CEO and one for Mr. Jagisser. You already answered my first question by saying that you're not going to do anything about the gas development. Saying that you're going to be busy with the oil deal for, let's say, 24 years, when will the possibility be there for Suriname to, through Total, do something about the gas development? And for Mr. Jagisser, one other part of the question is, information has reached us that TotalEnergies will not use the gas, but we'll use the pressure to get the oil up, but push the gas back as far as possible into the ground. I don't know the correct technical term, but you know exactly what I mean. En voor meneer Jagisser, het is reeds bekend dat Staatsolie uit deze deal, met deze deal geen gaswinning, dat geen onderdeel is van deze deal. En dat Staatsolie niet de faciliteiten en nog het kapitaal heeft daartoe. Als TotalEnergies daar niets mee gaat doen, is de mogelijkheid wel open voor andere companies om daar iets mee te doen, zoals, ik dacht dat het Firebird was, die daar reeds onderhandelingen over aan het voeren was. Want die hebben bijvoorbeeld in Qatar zodanig weten te onderhandelen dat dat land er 70% voordeel uit heeft kunnen halen. En ook een topdeal heeft kunnen sluiten in Noorwegen. In hoeverre is de mogelijkheid er wel en komt dat niet in gedrang met de oliedeal?
So on the gas, just to explain you. When we produce oil, we have what we call associated gas. So a well will produce oil and gas. So mainly oil, but some gas. What do we do with this gas? Traditionally, we flare it. We don't want to flare anymore, because flare means greenhouse gas emissions. So instead of flaring, we will re-inject the gas in periphery of the reservoir. Why? Because in an oil field, when you produce the oil, the pressure diminishes. When there is less pressure, you produce less. If you inject the gas on the periphery of the field, you put some pressure, and then the production will be sustained for a longer stage. It's a lesson of oil engineer, but it's fundamentally how it works. So the full idea is that stop flaring and re-inject the gas in the periphery to contribute to the oil production. This gas, why can we not today monetize it? Because we are 150 kilometers from shore. And on shore in Suriname, the market for gas is quite limited. You know, you have some diesel generator, but if we were willing to replace, and we fought to that with Anand, of course we study that, to replace the diesel generator by gas, it's too small. And so the cost of the pipeline between offshore and the shore to bring much small amount of gas is not possible. So it does not mean that we have other gas fields, which are really gas fields. The first discoveries which were done in Suriname, Maka and Kwaskwasi, if I remember correctly, the two first discoveries was gas. So we need to think, what can we do with this gas? And it's maybe to export, but all that is another story and a different project where the competition, because you compete then, what we call LNG with the US LNG, and so you have to take care of the competitiveness of such a project. That's the point where we are today. So the story is not finished in Suriname, but let's begin the story with oil, because this will be able to deliver in the most efficient way as soon as possible.
Ja, mevrouw Emmanuels, we gaan dus I'm going to have to do it in English.
No, but do it in.
Yeah, but you have to understand what she asked. She asked if we can give the gas away. So I have to answer a little bit in English. We have contractual arrangements with Total, and in my individual interviews with all of you, the option for that, I will go deeper into that issue. Because there are contractual obligations regarding gas. It's not like it is announced in the press, like the gas is, we can take the gas off the contractor party. No, there are contractual obligations. In our opinion, there is not enough gas, but we're pushing Total, of course, as well. But we have to be reasonable, and we see an opportunity to work together with Guyana. Easier said than done, because we have different legislation and contractual terms. We have different interests. Guyana is a big boy now. Maybe they want to lead. So it's always difficult to develop. I think what I asked is that we see and respect the journalists. They are professional. They know what to do. Staatsolie is a professional company. We know what to do, and you can always ask us to explain anything to you. And I heard a claim of Qatar. I think you are a journalist, maybe you should check the claim. So, I mean, Qatar is not a small company, and I don't see two people setting up the whole gas industry of a country. So, but I will go into detail into the gas story. But Staatsolie is very interested to look at the gas, and Patrick has promised that we'll sit together with the technical teams to come to a development concept in the future. But of course, now, the most important thing, also for Suriname, is the oil.
Thank you, Mr. Jageser. I just want to say that we have room for one last question. And after that, I will ask Mr. Jageser to make some closing remarks for the audience at home, because it's being live streamed, so maybe he can explain it in Dutch, what's been said here, in just 1 minute. And then we will start because the time is there. So Carla, please go ahead.
Carla Boetjes from LIM FM. So this is not the final investment decision that everyone was waiting for. And there are some questions about the transparency of the production sharing contracts. Why aren't they being published?
The policy of TotalEnergies, if we have no opposition to that, but it's up to the state. We have a contract with the state, so we respect the sovereignty of the state, and it's up to the state to decide. But again, if the state of Suriname is keen to publish, I have no objection to that. We are part of the initiative for the transparency of the extractive industries, and we are supportive of that approach, so no problem. FID, again, why not FID? Because we just had the data, and between the data, positive data of the wells and the FID, we need to make the detailed engineering, and we need to make tenders, international tenders. You don't award $9 billion contracts because I wake up yesterday and tell you I have an appointment with the president of Suriname, I want the FID, it's a little more. But again, we are doing, I can tell you, we are not slow. We have no conviction that this project is good, so we'll move forward. So if we can achieve between today and end of 24 the FID, it's quite an achievement. So just be patient, but we are on the way. It's just that, again, like you said, a $9 billion project is a huge project, and the devil is a detail, and we need to involve more and more people in order to make a nice and competitive project.
Yeah, mevrouw Boetjes. So we got the permission from Total to publish the production sharing contract, but there are more partners in the block, and of course, we have to consider, if you're a big company like Total, anything that is published, when there is a discovery in Suriname, and I can tell this because I watch it, the share of Total will increase with 2%. But if there is a discovery in Suriname, the share of the partner will increase with 25%. So you can understand the impact of everything that's happening in the offshore on the partner, but also on us as a small company, a country. So we have to balance, but we'll come back to this in detail. Thank you.
All right.
Yes.
Last question.
Clayton Hewat for STVS. I came a little bit late in the meeting, dus I want to know if I heard good. TotalEnergies will start until 2028 with the production. Has this have to do with the poor economic situation of our country? I say TotalEnergies will start the production till 2028.
Oh, no,
Has this...
No, there is no fair, no. We know oil and gas, it's up and down. You know, it's cyclical. We know it. When we decide a project, we decide today, but I don't know what will be the economy in 28. It has no influence. It's a long-term investment, you know, and we are one of the largest oil and gas companies in the world, number 4. We have a very large balance sheet, and in fact, no. The project will be sanctioned at its own merit, and the merit is a cost per barrel. So if the cost per barrel is less than $20, I can tell you, even if the price of oil is 80, of course it's better for all of us, But it's 50, it's still positive. So there is no influence on that on our decision.
Thank you.
Closing remarks?
Yes, closing remarks, please.
Okay.
In Dutch, preferably.
In Dutch, yes. Ja, we zijn op een historisch moment in ons land beland. We kunnen inderdaad uit deze ontwikkeling tussen de 16 en 26 miljard, 16 en 26 miljard US-dollar verdienen. Dat wil zeggen dat met goed beleid er geen armoede meer kan bestaan in Suriname. Absoluut geen armoede meer kan bestaan. Maar net als landen als Nigeria en Venezuela gaan we over 30 jaar moeten kijken. Want als niemand meer vist en niemand meer plant en niemand meer wil werken, gaan we straatarm worden na 30 jaar. Dit moet goed gemanaged worden. Dit is een hele grote stap. Er zijn technische termen, het heet pre-feed, maar het betekent voorontwerp. En wat Total vanaf vandaag gaat doen, is geld stoppen in het voorontwerp. En hoe meer geld je erin stopt, hoe minder kans er is dat je eruit gaat stappen. Maar wat meneer Poirier met name zegt, Patrick, met name zegt, is die kost per barrel is heel erg belangrijk. Omdat we zo'n groot olieveld hebben, dat relatief dicht bij elkaar ligt, zijn we in staat om bij deze ontwikkeling ongeveer $20 per barrel te halen. En in de wereld wordt olie geproduceerd, hij heeft dat uitgelegd. Er wordt per dag meer dan 100 miljoen barrels geproduceerd. Veel van die olie kost nog $50 en $60 om te produceren. U begrijpt dan dat zo'n ontwikkeling heel erg interessant is. En Total zal dat ook niet laten liggen. Daarmee is de zekerheid dat deze ontwikkeling komt voor ons bevestigd als staatsolie. Wat gebeurt er tussen nu en 2028 als de eerste barrel eruit komt, is dat er meer economische activiteiten gaan plaatsvinden in Suriname. En hopelijk dat IMF bijvoorbeeld dit ook meeneemt in haar economisch raamwerk. Want als die olieinkomsten worden ingenomen, dan wordt het raamwerk wat gespreider, waardoor de maatregelen niet zo strak hoeven te zijn voor Suriname. Maar dat moet de regering natuurlijk bespreken met het IMF. Groot moment voor Suriname. Ik feliciteer iedereen. Ik dank de mensen van Staatsolie, het directieteam en alle medewerkers van Staatsolie die hard hebben gewerkt hieraan. En ik weet dat er soms koskosie komt, dat het te lang duurt. Maar we werken echt heel hard eraan. Het is geen Guyana, maar het is echt heel erg goed in de wereld. Onze oliefondsen zijn heel erg goed. Maar bijvoorbeeld Guyana Lisa is nu 2,1 miljard barrel in 1 reservoir. We hebben in 2 reservoirs nu 700 miljoen. Ook ongehoord in de wereld. Dus we zijn goed. God heeft ons echt gezegend. En laten we er goed mee omgaan. Ik dank u.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jagesser. Thank you, Mr. Poirier. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Just some closing remarks for the press. Mr. Jagesser will be available for one-on-one interviews after this moment.